Grew back really quickly last year.
But I will be more than happy to show my beautiful bald head.
Officer Friendly,
Yes.
why don't you put yourself up an auction to the highest bidder that will actually cut your hair for some extra
More
money?
than happy to do that too. I mean, anybody,
Some lovely friend of yours, fire department, they may
Oh,
work.
God.
any fellow resident, make shave my head if you're
Next
upset with the police department or,
What
you
is the
know,
question I asked?
anything I can do for the children is greatly appreciated. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, board, and thank you, residents.
Thank you. We're going to go right down to the second reading of an ordinance requiring interior automatic fire sprinkler system. Just want to make it very clear. We have a number of calls from people in the village today, very confused and concerned about this proposed ordinance. I want to make it very clear, it has nothing to do with an existing home, as far as nobody has to do anything to an existing home. The ordinance has been proposed at the moment, is only for a brand new construction or 50% of a remodel. If you're remodeling, enlarging the house 50% or more, whether it's value or square feet, we haven't decided yet. That's one of the things that's on what we're thinking about. It has nothing to do with an existing home. We've got people call us up and say, I have to do something about, my home. No, your home is what it is. So on that basis, if anybody's concerned about that, I want to make that very clear, that's not what's going on.
And what basis you have the change made for?
Pardon me?
And what basis you made the changes?
What changes?
They didn't do any changes.
Did they want to introduce this ordinance?
No, we'll get to that.
Do we need to have, the motion was to postpone the consideration on this the last time, Mike, so basically, we had first reading,
Yeah, first, nothing.
we just had first reading?
Yeah.
Okay, so,
The postponement was for the,
all right, so here we are, the questions for second reading and adoption of the ordinance.
Right.
So do you want to have a motion and a second and discussion?
Yes.
Okay, I'll move that the motion be adopted or the ordinance be adopted as written.
Second,
Are we opening for second reading?
second reading and adoption, we're gonna discuss, we have to open it for discussion.
Just a motion for a second.
It's not open, you can discuss it.
That's just what I did.
Okay. We have a motion for second reading?
They'll just do a motion for second reading?
Yeah.
And I got it, and I seconded it.
Okay, all in favor?
No.
Okay.
Now you're going to do discussion.
Discussion, please. Go.
Do you want to start with comments from the audience? Or you want to have,
Well, we have somebody here from Jan Peterson from Alliance Fire Protection. We've got a couple of minutes.
I'm here to answer any questions if you guys have them regarding costs or how they get installed, things like that. I work for Alliance Fire Protection.
State your name, please, and spell it.
Jennifer Peterson,
Thank you.
And what company?
Peterson, Alliance Fire Protection.
Thank you.
Could you give us just a couple of minutes rundown for the board of kind of typical cost, installation, and new and remodel?
For a new home, when you're talking about having city water, our prices that I can vouch for, I can't vouch for other companies, but we are currently about $1.75 to $2 a square foot, and that's including your basement square footage. It's important to note that because oftentimes that gets overlooked. When you put a sprinkler system in a house, you are protecting essentially the whole house, short of small bathrooms, small closets, attics, crawl spaces, and garages. So when you think about your square footage, you need to think about your basement square footage in that. Houses that are on wells, you can still protect, but we need to add a pump and some water storage tanks to that. And that's about a couple $1,000 add to the cost of the system. And it's a fixed cost, so you would take your square footage price and add a couple thousand to that, and you have to have the pump and tank for that.
And that's for a single home, not for just one at a time.
Right, that's a single family home. Again, $1.75 to $2 a square foot is our cost with city water. add a couple $1,000s to that if you have a well system and you need to put a pump and a tank on it.
Okay.
What about the electricity?
No,
Wait.
We'll
Okay.
get to that.
I understand that these systems are usually connected by communications link to the fire department station. Do you have an idea what the monthly cost of that is?
No, because that's not something that we provide. Also, typically in a 13D installation, which is what this is, NFPA 13D, you don't have that monitored unless the fire department requires that. I do have homeowners I work with quite often that choose to have it monitored by an ADT or by a private company, and I couldn't tell you what the cost of those are because we don't handle that, but the system is capable of being monitored if a homeowner chooses to.
Okay, what about a month or annual fee for inspection?
Under the national standard, when it comes to inspections, there isn't any language that requires inspections. This is private property we're talking about here, so when it comes to somebody knocking on a door saying, I need to do an inspection in regards to the village, they simply don't have the authority to do that. What we provide is information to the homeowner as to how to inspect your systems annually. Our company also does perform annual sprinkler system inspections for single-family homes. So that's something that either you could do yourself if you're the type who can change your own filter on your HVAC and feel comfortable doing those sorts of small mechanical things, or you can hire a contractor to do it as well.
Clarify for me one thing about how these systems work. If there's a fire and your sprinkler system goes off, does it go off throughout the house or just in the area where the hot spot is?
Absolutely not. The heads are activated by the heat of a fire only, and only the head by the fire is going to go off. Hollywood's done a terrible job of showing, a sprinkler system goes off and the whole place is covered in water and destroyed, and every time that happens, I groan now. But no, only the head by the fire is going to go off. And out of all fires, about 90% of them, 90-95%, are controlled by one head, where the remainder might need two heads to go off. But you're talking about one sprinkler head going off.
Thank you.
Actually, I have two questions. One concern that was raised was the fire, in an unoccupied home, the fire sprinkler being set off when there really wasn't a fire. Do you have any records of incidences of that happening?
1 in 16 million sprinkler heads accidentally activates for no reason at all. So as far as a head just going off because it goes off, again, those odds are just, it's not going to happen. If a head does go off, you've got different alarms in your house. You do have an interior bell. A lot of times we put an exterior horn strobe on the house as well. And the purpose of that, if you're not tied into a monitoring service, let's say, it's going to alert your neighbors that something's going on at that house. So if you are away from the house, it's going to alert the neighbors, it's going to alert someone passing by. There's a bright white strobe like you see on the outside of a lot of commercial buildings, and a horn attached to that as well. But as far as an accidental activation, it just doesn't happen.
And are there other associated costs with installing a sprinkler? For example, wrapping pipes, insulating pipes, things of that nature. Would that be applicable to this area?
You don't wrap sprinkler piping. In order for the wrapped piping to be used, you need to have condensation, and in order to create condensation, you need to have water to move. Our water is always stagnant in the pipes. We try to install our sprinkler systems all the time where you don't have pipes running in cold spaces. On the first floor of a house, you will have pipes in your ceilings, you'll have heads in your ceilings, but when we get up to the second floors, what we try to do as best as possible is run the pipe vertically in the interior walls of your house. And then about 4 inches down from the ceiling, we come out with what's called a sidewall head. That sidewall head is below that cold attic space, and you don't have any pipe there for in the cold attic spaces, so you don't really run into that. When you do have some decorative ceiling issues, if you've got elaborate ceilings and we have to use the pendant heads, at that point the contractor is responsible for making sure that pipe doesn't freeze. But he'd be doing the same thing for